welcome to lesson 103. This is about volume. Now we've learned about perimeter before, which is the measurement around a flat surface. So we remember perimeter. And we also learned about area, and area is the amount of space taken up in a shape, which is actually always a two-dimensional shape. Now we have volume, and the volume is different because it's similar to area, except for the fact you're finding the amount of space that an object occupies or takes up, and it's always going to be a three-dimensional figure, such as cubes, spheres, cones, cylinders, and pyramids. Now, thankfully, we are only going to be looking at and starting with the basics of finding the volume of a cube or of a rectangular solid. So we're not actually going to even be looking at spheres, cones, cylinders, or pyramids. You'll probably get more into that in 6th grade and 7th grade because there's different formulas for finding those. But for cubes and rectangular solids, those are usually pretty simple as long as you know how to multiply correctly. Now, whenever I'm looking at a cube and I'm trying to find the volume, I'm trying to find how much space it occupies. Now, hopefully you can see this okay, but I have it split into different little cubes, other little boxes. So there's other little cubes inside, and each one represents 1 cubic inch. So with the whenever we're finding the volume of something, we're actually going to label in cubic whatever it is, cubic units. So cubic inches, cubic centimeters, cubic yards, cubic feet, whatever it ends up being, it's going to be in cubes or cubic units, or you can actually write that basically with a third power. Whenever you have a third power of something, then it ends up being a cubic unit, or it's going to be cubed. So I have 2 inches long, 2 inches wide, and 2 inches high on this, or in this cube. Those are my dimensions that I have. Now you're always going to have 3 different dimensions because I have a 3D figure. So 3D figures, I'm going to have 3 different numbers that I'm going to actually just multiply together. Whenever I multiply these together, that's actually going to show me how many little boxes, how many little cubic units I have in my rectangular solid or in my cube. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So my volume is 8 cubic inches. We're going to go ahead and look at example 1, and hopefully you'll be able to understand that one a little better. I have, let's see, I'll get a color. We'll do blue on this one. I have 3 cubic centimeters long. That's the length. So there's 3 little cubic boxes here. I have 3 cubic centimeters. I have 2 cubic centimeters long, 2 cubic centimeters wide and 2 cubic centimeters high. So I'm actually going to multiply these 3 numbers together in order to find the volume, and in order to find out how many cubic units I have that take up my rectangular solid. So I'm going to do 3 times 2 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. So the volume is 12, I can say cubic centimeters, I'll abbreviate, or I can put centimeters cubed. So the third power, if you can read that, centimeters to the third power is also centimeters cubed, and I will accept that. Example 2 says, what is the volume? So without even the squares drawn, without even the cubes drawn in this rectangular solid, I have 4 inches long, 2 inches wide, and 3 inches high. So I'm going to multiply those 3 different measurements together. 4 times 2 times 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So my volume is 24, and I'm going to do inches cubed or cubic inches. I'm going to write both because both are acceptable. Cubic inches. Example 3 says, what is the approximate volume? Now, in just a few lessons ago, actually, we learned about rounding mixed numbers up to the closest whole number. These are probably pretty small. I might not have written them large enough to see, so I'll be able to read them to you. But the approximate volume, I'm going to round these first, of course, before I multiply, because we haven't gotten into multiplying mixed numbers yet. We will later on. I have 2 3/4 inches. I'm going to round that. It's going to be approximately 3 inches because 3/4 is greater than a half. So this is about 3 inches. Then I have 7 7/8 inches, which of course rounds to 8 inches because 7/8 is greater than a half. So I'm going to round up to my next whole number. And then I have 12 1/8 inches, which rounds down to 12 inches because 1/8 is less than a half. So I have 12 times 8 times 3. Well, 12 times 8, actually, yeah, or 12 times 3, I know off the top of my head, is 36, and I'm going to do 36 times 8. I think that would be the easiest way to solve it. 36 times 8. So 288, that would be inches cubed. So that would be the approximate volume. So approximate means you're estimating. We estimated or rounded my lengths first, or up to the nearest whole number, and then I multiplied the 3 different lengths together, my length times width times height. So I will be grading you on the notes that you took in this video. It means for the example problems as well as your definition of what volume is. Thank you very much for paying attention.